At precisely 8:59 on the morning of June the 10th, 2021, all of our lives changed forever. That may be a slight exaggeration, but certainly the life of Celtic changed, and for the better. That was the moment when Ange Postecoglou was officially confirmed as the new Celtic manager, succeeding Neil Lennon, or I suppose John Kennedy in a way. It was a moment that changed the fortunes from Celtic. We went from non-champions to champions 10 or so months later. It's taken us back to the group stage of the Champions League. It's brought a League Cup back to the club as well, and so many good memories last season, so many players that we've now fallen in love with, and a connect between players, staff and the fans that I have never seen before. And it all started back on that morning when Ange Postecoglou was announced. Now, why am I telling you all this? Well, you may have noticed that today is also June the 10th, and that makes it exactly 1 year on from Ange Postecoglou being announced as the Celtic manager. And a hell of a lot has happened in that year. To celebrate this momentous date that I'm sure you will all remember from now on, certainly after this video, today we're going to look back at what was basically Ange's first major day at Celtic, and it was of course when he met the media, and more specifically Celtic fan media. Yes, we're looking back at the video from just shy of a year, I think about probably a week and a bit short of a year, when Ange and Dom Mackay met Celtic fan media. And we've done this once before. I'm basically going to watch it, I'm going to basically shout stuff at the telly like a madman, record myself doing it. This is Postecoglou box, and I'm saying that quietly because I don't want to be sued by the makers of a very well-known TV show that may share a similar name, but they're not linked at all. So hopefully you know the script by now. No more intro, this has been lengthy enough. Let's do it. That's the telly. Sorry, I should say quickly, we're not actually going to play the whole video because that would just take far too long. Basically just Ange Postecoglou answers, not going to bother with the Dom Mackay stuff too much. Why? Because he has now left the club and it's kind of irrelevant what he said. There's a wee bit on him though that we'll get into. And also I've not used every single question that was asked by people that day. So if you're part of the Celtic fan media community, you were there that day and you don't hear your voice, don't take it personally. You just weren't good enough. Hi everyone, we're here at Celtic Park today. Doesn't Paradise look amazing in the sun? I just love this part of the ground. But we're here on business because today Ange Postecoglou will meet press for the first time as Celtic manager. Just while this opening bit is playing, I'll just give you a bit of insight on the day. So basically Celtic arranged this media day, and while I'm recording this bit outside the greatest stadium on the planet with those banners that are apparently no longer there, I really didn't know what to expect going into it. I didn't know if we were going to be in the full media conference with everyone else. It turned out that when we did go inside, they had the mainstream media upstairs. We were directly below. It was quite weird actually because we were all kind of spread out in the room as Celtic fan media. Obviously COVID was far more prevalent, far more of a concern back then. Things like social distancing and masks were still a thing back then, and we had to watch the original mainstream press conference coming on live on the tellies, and then Ange and Dom Mackay came down shortly afterwards. So that's just a wee bit of insight. These are all questions we're going to get answers to today. Hopefully, I'm certainly going to be doing my bit. We're going to hear from both Ange Postecoglou and Dom Mackay in this video, and then hopefully I'll give some kind of closing thoughts.
Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you all. Very welcome, Celtic Park.
So this is, of course, Dom Mackay addressing everyone at the start.
And it gives me enormous pleasure to welcome Ange.
A very polished kind of, I'm hesitant to use the word politician, but I suppose that's kind of what he was, and the way he came across. Promised quite a lot, obviously didn't stay at the club long enough to really see all that through.
And that shows you how highly regarded he is internationally. So I'll maybe hand over to Ange, and once again, welcome, Ange.
Thank you, and thanks for the warm welcome, everyone. And as I said upstairs, super excited and very humbled to be in this position.
The reason I wanted to do this, specifically with Ange, is I just think it's so interesting now looking back at this thing, when loads of the things Ange said at the time and when Celtic were in so much turmoil, you kind of didn't really understand, you couldn't really comprehend exactly what Ange was saying, but there's so much of what he said that day that I think will make for very interesting viewing now.
Well aware of the size, magnitude and the traditions of this football club, and my role here is to hopefully create some more special moments and create things that last well beyond my tenure here, so that my time here is remembered and remembered in a special way. So I look forward to what's ahead, and I guess my main task is to make sure that I keep all of you very, very happy over the next period. So I'll be working hard to do that.
I think when he's talking here about giving us special memories, he has total belief, and I think he kind of probably almost expected to see what we see nowadays and expected to be loved. I think that's how much belief he's got in himself.
Ange, it's an absolute honour and welcome to Scotland. First of all, it must be quite a transition in terms of the weather, but I'm sure you'll fit in quite well. My question for you is, during the week you had said that you want to entertain the fans and you want to win, but to win, that doesn't just take you, that takes a whole background team.
I remember at the time the stuff about backroom team was a big issue. The Eddie Howe stuff was also a big issue. That was, I think, the first thing he was asked upstairs, not by the proper journos in the Celtic fan media department. And I think the third issue was the whole sporting director thing as well. It's weird how kind of all three of those are no longer an issue at all, but they were major kind of questions that people wanted to ask Ange about that first day.
There probably will be changes. That doesn't necessarily mean people will be going. We might be bringing other people in, but I'll make those decisions over the next few weeks once I get a good idea of the people that are already in place. There's some good people in the football club already. The club had a lot of success for a very long time. You don't want to discard that knowledge and experience because of what happened last year, but we're certainly heading off in a new direction, and I'll find people that will help us go in that direction. So I'll make those decisions over the next few weeks, but you can be assured the people that will be working with me will be pulling in the same way that I am in terms of the kind of football we want to play and the kind of football club we want to be. I do appreciate, I did say I may have got a mixed response upstairs, but I guess that's just people, and I'm not on social media.
Not Ryan McGowan told us you were on social media, Ange. Come on.
For people feeding me information about what was going on social media. So the reality of it is, since I've been here, and the people who have reached out to me have been super supportive. And I've got no doubt there isn't. Every Celtic supporter wants me to do well and wants me to succeed. I've got no doubt about that, and I know I'll get their support.
I think there's a tendency for people to want to rewrite history and to make it out as if nobody really trusted Ange at this stage. From my memory anyway, people at this stage, I think this was the Friday, this kind of series of press conferences, we'd had bits of Ange prior to that. I think he'd arrived in Scotland maybe the previous, earlier in the week, maybe the Tuesday or the Wednesday, and I think Celtic had put a couple of one-on-one interviews up on the YouTube, and already I think Sky had maybe done one as well, and already people had changed from the idea they had maybe originally when they first heard his name to thinking this guy is pretty special, and obviously all the stuff we'd heard from you Aussies out there had helped to kind of strengthen that feeling as well. I think there was very much a feeling going into this that this manager had certainly something about him.
Ange, you in your book, and as was mentioned earlier, we've all been doing the research, so you talk about the culture at Melbourne Hellas as being important, and the culture of a football club. We are very proud of the culture of Celtic being formed to put dinner on the tables, and one of the driving factors of that is the foundation. Do you see the Celtic FC Foundation as something that you would like to encourage the players to get more involved with as part of the culture of our club, which is the charitable side of it?
Absolutely. To be honest, I think for anyone who has the privilege of coming through this football club and being in any role, you miss a great opportunity to to really learn and enrich your own life by understanding the origins and the culture of this football club. I'll certainly be doing that. I mean, as you said, I wrote in my book, for me, football's not just a sport. It's well beyond the sport. For me, it's been a kind of vehicle that's steered my life. All my most significant relationships have come out of football one way or another, whether it's friendships, any other relationships I've had. So I understand that this is more than just the club.
He just got it, didn't he? He just got it from like the first minute coming to the club.
Hi, Ange. This is Tino from the Celtic Exchange podcast.
Hey! Tino.
Welcome to Glasgow, welcome to Celtic, and we wish you all the best with everything you do here. Tom, welcome to you as well. I know you're more familiar, but welcome and best of luck. And like all the guys in here, we've done a lot of research on your style, your philosophy, your thinking. And what I'd like to know, we've obviously gathered a lot of information, but is there any information or anything that's often misunderstood about you or that people often get wrong about you?
Not much, Tino. Just that idiot at 67 Hail calling me Angie the first time. What's John like?
It depends. I don't know. It depends who you're listening to, I guess. I mean, the one thing I always fall back on is because, and you'll hear managers kind of talk about their philosophy and the way they want to play. I've always relied on people who watch my teams. That's where you'll get your best information, because it's easy for me to say I want my teams to score goals and I want my teams to play a certain way, but that's where, I spoke about my father, and that he was my critic. He's the only person I've ever listened to my whole life, and he was never happy. So I could win things and he'd say, no, you could play more attacking. And I don't think hopefully, you guys will get to know me over the next sort of period of time in terms of the kind of person I am. But I have really strong values on not just about football, but in life in general. All those values are deeply rooted in the values my father passed on to me. We were immigrants to another land. We didn't know the language. We didn't know a soul. And yet somehow my father managed to forge a life and an opportunity for me that 55 years later I'm halfway around the world living my dream. That's the person I am, and that'll never change. And, you may hear various reports. They say I come across as fairly grumpy at times and not very sociable. I'll be fair, I'm not the most sociable person. I tend to be pretty quiet, not say too much, but there are some things that will always ring true about me, and that is that there are certain things that I believe in that will never waver. As I said, right now I'm manager of this football club, and everything I will do in actions and in words will be to protect this football club and to uphold its values, its traditions, and hopefully, as I said, bring some special moments that you guys, I'm sure you're all many generations supporters. You're not supporters of the last 2-3 years, that I'm hoping you pass on to your kids and talk about the time that I was here. So that's who I am. My wife will tell you I'm pretty simple, one-dimensional. I'll watch football day and night. I've got 2 young kids that drive me nuts. So from that point of view, there's nothing too mysterious about me. For the most part, my teams kind of play with some kind of 4-3-3 formation, but the key part of that is it's not so much the formation, it's just the type of footballers that I need in certain positions, and that's the work we're doing on right now, is to the gaps we have in the squad, and there are some gaps, some pretty noticeable ones, is we try and bring in footballers who will provide the energy, the speed.
How, just watching this and thinking, how do you think Ange would have done with the squad that he inherited at Celtic? So he can't sign anyone, but he keeps Ayer, Edward, Christie. I think that was it, basically. How do you think he would have done with that squad? Do you think he would have finished third? Would he have managed to get second? I don't think he'd have won the league with that squad, but how do you think he would have done? Just while you're watching this, have a think.
With what we have at the moment, I think there's a core group of players there that I see can really develop and show some real growth in terms of their football just by us changing our way. But there's certainly some gaps there where I'm going to be trying to bring in a certain type of footballer, and as I said, for me, that involves some speed, some energy, players willing to take some risks. So those kind of things are important.
Good, looking forward to it. And Dom, after what happened earlier in the summer, can you tell us about the process that led to appointing Ange and if he's 100% your man?
Oh, this is a juicy bit. Now, I wanted to leave this in, even though we're not really touching on Dom Mackay.
Oh, he's 100% my man. There's absolutely no doubt about that. I think the sort of process, we probably commented that previously. What I can say is when, having lived in Australia and spent time living in, being out in Japan, particularly most recently, Ange is well known to me and has been for a long time. So when I had the chance to speak to him when the opportunity arose, it was just a great conversation.
I think by now people are probably aware of the link that got Ange to Celtic, and I don't think it was Dom Mackay, being honest. I think it was the Law link, whether it be Mark with the City Football Group links, and Peter, of course. So it's interesting to hear Dom Mackay just wanting to really make Ange his own man. I think probably everyone was a bit scarred after the old Eddie Howe stuff.
It was an easy conversation, and it was a great moment when I asked him, we would like you to become the next Celtic Football Club manager. And there wasn't the slightest hesitation. And that's what I wanted. I wanted a winner, someone that got the club and that wants to go with me on a journey now to really begin to modernise and develop the club in a number of different ways.
Just for the record, by the way, Dom Mackay, great guy. That rhymed again. That's 2 videos in a row I've done a rhyme. But he came across really well with fan media, and he's probably a big part of why fan media have got such good access this year. So I've got nothing but good things really to say about Dom Mackay. Not that he or anyone else probably cares.
Hi guys, Hamish from 67 Hail Hail.
Oh, no, this idiot.
Just to welcome both of you to the club. Obviously a lot of work ahead of both of you, so all the best. Ange, I'll start with you. Obviously, like everyone in this room, we wanted to find out as much as we could about you. We spoke to Vince Regari from your homeland. I think he had a lot of positive things to say. One thing he did raise was the fact that your teams can take some time to get used to your way of playing, your philosophy, and just the overall kind of ethos. Is that something you think's a fair comment? And how far do you think this Celtic side you inherited are from where you want them to be?
Yeah, look, I mean, people always sort of say that it takes time, but I mean, I assume everyone wants to be successful. They all like the ending. So I think if you talk to people I've actually been involved with, none of them really talk about how long it took. They just talk about the fact that it was, a special time. So I don't put time frames on those things. Sometimes it happens quickly. Sometimes it takes a little bit more time. There's no doubt you're not going to see in the first Champions League game, the team flying the way I want to. But at the same time, it's not to say that we can't make significant progress quickly.
I'm not going to take too much credit, but I would say this moment between me and Ange was the defining moment in recent Celtic history.
My goal is to have this club playing football that's going to excite every one of you, and we're going to be successful. I can't say how that story is going to be written. Like most great stories, there's going to be some twists and turns, a little bit of unknown. That's the exciting bit. I can't tell you it's going to take a month, 2 months, 6 months. What I do know is that whenever I've committed to the task, and that's been at every club I've been in, the ending's been the way it should be. So every day I'm going to work hard to make sure it's as quick as possible. But I'm not going to take shortcuts. I'm not going to compromise what I'm saying and what I believe just to win a game, because ultimately I want us to be the very best. So I'm not going to compromise on that. So I can't tell you how long it's going to take. I will tell you that we will get there.
He just comes across incredibly well. I know Celtic fan media is just quite a small thing, and I know a lot of people possibly watching this don't really care too much about the access we get, and I get that totally. But from a selfish point of view, you genuinely couldn't have designed a manager who would be better for Celtic fan media, who would be so respectful of Celtic fan media and give us so much time at the end of his press conferences. His longest answers at press conferences are usually reserved for Celtic fan outlets, and he's just been the perfect manager, and it's just been it's not been the perfect year since he's come in. The perfect year would have been winning every trophy he went for, but it's been one hell of a ride, and it's been amazing. I have loved probably every single minute of it, feeling this connected to the club, and having a manager who I think speaks for all of us, and having a wonderful group of players as well. And we've got so much more to come next season as well, and it's just so exciting. And talking of things to come, now again I used this anniversary, again apologies for that, earlier on today to make a big announcement. If you follow me on Twitter, you will already have seen this. If not, don't worry about it. But the upshot is that I'm writing a book about Ange Postecoglou and Celtic. It's going to tell the story of last season. It's also going to tell the story of maybe a few things that are still to come, like the Champions League, for example. Basically, if you're a fan of the Ange Insight series we've done on the channel, where we've spoken to loads of people, off the top of my head, we've had Ernie Merrick, we've had Ryan McGowan, we've had Andy Harper, we've had Matt Smith, numerous other people as well. It's going to be all of that stuff in the book. I'm going to speak to more people as well, and I'm obviously going to tell the story of how Ange actually transformed the club through my eyes, through everyone else's eyes, hopefully, as well. So yeah, it's quite exciting. It's a massive undertaking. It's the biggest thing I've ever done, I think, in my life, and I might try and keep you involved in this process a little bit, just give you wee updates now and again. But yeah, basically watch this space. So that's my announcement. Hopefully you've enjoyed me sitting watching the telly and reminiscing a little bit about what Ange said when he first came to the club. What a wonderful, wonderful man. Ange too.